Scuba diving is scary. What if you run out of air? What if you lose your buddy? And what if you can't find your way home? If this sends chills down your spine, then this is the right place, because I'm going to be sharing tips and tricks on how I overcame fear and anxiety in scuba diving and how I help to do the same with my students. Let's dive in. I will show you 5 ways that help me deal with anxiety, and make sure you watch until the end because each approach really complements each other. So the first technique is called fear setting, and actually you can use this not only in scuba diving but also anywhere else in life. So the way it works is that you're able to address your biggest fear strategically. There's more to the technique and I'll link it in the description below. So let's take this fear, run out of air, put it in the first column. Then you have 2 more columns. The second column is for prevention. So how can you prevent this fear from ever happening? First thing that you could do is do a pre-dive check, and actually do it with your buddy so that both of you are confident that you have air. And the way you do it is very simple. You check that your cylinder is on, you check that your regulators are working, and that visually everything looks okay. Second approach that you could do is simply try to stay as calm as possible. This might seem a strange suggestion, but actually, the calmer you are, the less gas you consume. 2 years ago, when I was diving in Egypt, I was very stressed doing one particular dive. And I started the dive as usual with a full tank, 200 bars. As soon as I finished the first 5 minutes of the dive, I already consumed about 25% of the cylinder. That was insane. And that happened because I was stressed, I was hot, and I exerted myself before the dive. Another skill to prevent this fear from happening is something, again, that you learn on your first day, and that is to check your pressure gauge. It's a very hard technique. Let me demonstrate. That's it. That's all it takes to actually prevent an out-of-air situation. Why? Remember my Egypt story from earlier? So not only you don't know how much air you consume, but also you don't know how much air you consume in specific situations. When you exert yourself, when you're stressed, when you're hot. This is exactly part of your journey as a scuba diver. You learn as you go, you learn how you behave in certain contexts. And that all comes with practice. Don't worry, we've all gone through this and had situations where we breathe more, breathe less. So that's why checking your pressure gauge frequently in the beginning is a recommended approach. But on your first scuba class, you're probably gonna do it in the pool, maybe even in the shallow end of the pool, which means that you're gonna be at a depth of 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters. So this skill is something that your instructor is gonna have to train and ingrain in your brain. Well, that's a nice rhyme. At first, it's gonna feel overwhelming. It's like that for everyone. It was the same for me. So you might be forgetting to check your pressure gauge, but again, your instructor is gonna keep asking you to show the pressure gauge frequently on every dive. And the third column is called repair. So what if the fear actually does come to life? What could you do in that case to mitigate it? And in scuba diving, luckily for you, the first thing you learn in your open water class is actually how to deal with an out of air situation. First, you will learn how to signal to your buddy that you are out of air. And the way you do it is by doing a hand gesture like this. And so anyone in the water that sees this immediately knows that they need to deploy their octopus and give it to you. Octopus is an alternate air source. Usually in recreational diving, you might know it as a yellow regulator with a yellow hose. Hey, if you're enjoying this, please click like and subscribe. That really helps me out to continue making these videos. Okay, let's get back in. The second technique that you can use to face your fear and anxiety is by giving it a name. Imagine someone you don't like, or just a name you don't like. Let's say Boris. And Boris, or Boris, you say, Boris, you can be with me today, but I really don't want you to take the wheel. I'm going to be driving today. I know this might seem simplistic, but this is an actual technique from psychology that a lot of psychologists use to work with their clients, and it works. I will link a video from a psychologist using this technique down in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. So the third way to address your fear and anxiety in scuba diving is by practicing. Captain Obvious, right? Here's a story related to this from my cave diving course. There was this one exercise that I really stressed about. It was to swim along a guideline, holding onto the guideline, simulating zero visibility, so with a blindfold and without a regulator in my mouth. The idea was that I would swim until I feel my instructor and then tap on him and he would give actually air to me, so we would share air. The problem is that I've done this exercise before and I failed. Not in the cave diving course, but in a different course earlier in my career. And it really freaked me out. Since then, I've always feared this exact exercise. I feared it so much that the day before, I spent hours walking on the beach, doing breathing exercises, timing myself, actually trying to understand how long can I withstand the effects of CO2? How long can I hold my breath? But then the day of the exercise comes and I do it with the first try. Amazing. And really, it felt like nothing. It actually was easy. The point is, if you fear some sort of activity or a specific exercise, maybe you're already diving, just start doing it little by little. Practice parts of it. Practice the components that make the whole. Baby steps. Sometimes you don't even need to get in the water. You can do it on land, trying out different pieces of equipment, trying out how it feels, find out for yourself. Fourth approach that really will help you face fear and anxiety is finding a buddy that you can trust. This one's really going to help you out. Imagine someone that's actually experienced in the sport, actually knows what the hell he's doing and what the hell he's talking about, and you can rely on that person. You can ask them questions, they can explain, kind of like now. One thing that is missing in diving, sadly, is something that Gareth Locke, the author of the book Under Pressure, calls just culture. What it means is that we rarely feel safe to speak up. We rarely feel like we can actually point out issues with the dive plan, point out issues with the gear, my buddy. It doesn't even need to be anything special. Once I told one student of a different instructor, hey, if you would do a buddy check, this problem would not have occurred. He had some problem before that. And the instructor said, why do I need to do these checks? Come on, like what am I gonna do? A check like some moron? True story. So I really wish that you can find a community and a buddy with whom you can feel safe. And the fifth and ultimate approach that will help you to really get out of sticky situations in scuba diving is by actually defining your values and finding courage to say no. One of the worst things in scuba diving is so-called trust me dives, meaning when you put your full faith in someone else. That could be navigation, that could be decompression planning, that can be the gas that they fill in your cylinders and you don't check and you simply say, yeah, okay. That you say it's air, it must be air. And related to the fourth approach, oftentimes you need to feel safe to actually speak up. But the thing about courage, finding courage, is not being fearless. Courage is doing something despite the fear, through the fear. This comes with practice, developing yourself as a person, personal development. For me, what helped are books. My job actually helps me going out in places and feeling uncomfortable. There's a YouTube channel called Yes Theory, and they have this great phrase, seeking discomfort. And this is something that will help you build courage. And trust me, this will help you not only in scuba diving, but in every aspect of your life. And actually, you already found courage. You decided that you want to learn more about this topic. You clicked on this video and you thought, okay, I want to learn. I want to be better. That takes courage. Don't listen to what anyone says. The fact that you're thinking about this and facing this thought, trying out, seeking discomfort, that proves that you have courage. And I wish that you will continue seeking it and growing as a person. So we've talked about fear setting, we've talked about giving a name to your anxiety, we've talked about starting small baby steps, we've talked about finding a community, a dive buddy, and we've talked about finding courage. There's a quote from Mark Twain that I want to leave you with. I'm an old man and have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Thank you for watching and being with me. Here's a video of how I panicked during a scuba class. Check it out.